Hey there, welcome to the BRW Capital Analytics YouTube channel where we talk TA and markets. My name is BRW Solo, and today I want to talk exclusively about the TX price action. We're going to look into the chart. We're going to start from the scratch, bare bones, and we'll draw some lines, and we're going to try to figure out some strength, the demand side, and really just try to interpret this chart for what it is, right? So a lot of people don't really understand TA. The whole purpose is to see if we can make this easy for everybody. All right, so let's dive into the chart really quick. So this is obviously TX, and all I want to do is start from the very beginning of March 6th, which was TGE beginning. We're going to measure how long it's been. It's been over 112 days. Okay, cool. Well, when you look at a chart like this, you're probably asking yourself, well, how can I make anything of this, right? And yeah, it's true. It is kind of terrible, right? So let's look at this big old wick here. Do you see this? This right here is interesting because all this is just pre-limit orders that were placing a bet before the market actually had dropped the coins out to the public. And that was before it started to actually open up onto the exchanges. So as it did, we had this big price drop, right? Obviously people were speculating on it. And then we had this big old drop here. It's about 1 month right here, okay? But you could see that as it had increased momentum in its sell pressure, it started to stabilize just a little bit. And then obviously we had a little pump and then had a little bit of a consolidative strength, right? And this is the time where it was actually, as Bitcoin was moving up, this was stabilizing a lot better. Now, obviously you can see we had another spillover, and then this little area is also very interesting because to me, this is my favorite looking piece because there's structure here. If anything, out of anything, this is the most structural piece. So if we take some of our tools, we can use support and resistance to sort of measure and see what is it telling us here. So obviously we had a little bounce, and then we tried to break through, but we couldn't several times, and then obviously at some point you just flushed down. So when we had flushed down, we had found another base. So we had two bases, and I can actually draw this out with a little square here. So the idea is to just locate where that consolidative strength is. You have one right there, right? We have ranged here, broke down, retested, made a spring effect. And by the way, spring is just basically breaking through another level of support. That's a critical level of support and creating a new base. So I really think right here, you can almost see that this is going to be a really good accumulation range. So we'll draw another box here, and you have two boxes, and these are telling us that this is where the most trading activity has been. So here you can see where I'm kind of circling right there. There's a volume well, and then here's well. So meaning there hasn't been much trading along these areas right there and right there. So these areas, when we do end up crossing them, they're going to be the least amount of resistance when we do get to that point. Now, what I'm seeing here is a nice looking rounded bottom, and to me, it's showing a sign of strength for now. Anything can change, but right now we're playing on probabilities. We can also draw a trend line, and we can see, hey, how are we doing? Well, we have one little trend line where you can see this wick had reacted to it right there. And we haven't technically broke down. So that trend line may not be so valid. It may actually be creating something a little bit later like this, a little bit more flatter. We'll see. Time will tell. But also at the same time, if I delete these two, I'm going to go draw some support and resistance just on the smaller side. And you can see right now, we are definitely holding something right there. And that's really nice because obviously if you're paying attention to the charts right now, you can see Bitcoin's been flushing really hard. It looks like all liquidity sweeps, and then Ethereum too, and a lot of other ones. But there are certain crypto coins out there that are actually gaining strength, and TX is one of them. And some of them have been doing it throughout the month of June. That's really a good thing. So altcoins, it seems like the promising ones, the really good ones, they're starting to get a little bit of strength and creating some sort of pattern where they want to reverse when Bitcoin's flushing the other way, which is not natural, but we'll see what happens here. We don't know if it's a fake rally yet. But that's what we're going to get into as well. So we have these things drawn out. We very simply understand what's going on. Now, obviously, I'm going to draw one more indicator here, and this indicator is the 50 moving average. And it's another powerful moving average that also acts as support and resistance, but it can also tell you if the coin is oversold or not. So this line has been holding us down for a while, and we haven't been able to successfully break it. That's okay. With the trend line here, we could probably draw a trend line somewhere here or here. We don't know, because this trend lines are very subjective, but it does seem like we could enter a squeeze point. But if we had a bearish case, we could draw support and resistance right there as well. Why did I draw that line there? Look at how many candles have actually been accumulating underneath this line, right? So yes, we had a little pop-up, but that didn't last very long. So with this ranging that's been going on here, that's very strong. So even if we do break down, we could expect to wick down into this area, and I expect a lot of buys to absorb that price action down here. So that's okay. Let's go turn into the other chart, TX, where I actually have that chart drawn and built. And you can see on the left, we have had this channel that we've been in. I had drawn this trend line, and then of course that 50-day moving average that we just talked about. And this is creating some sort of pressure. I'm curious to see what is going to happen. Are we going to have one more spill, touch this area, and then reverse? Could be like a little double bottom. Or what are we going to do here is start moving up, and then we're actually moving up a little quicker than the market expects. And it is possible. There's data on both sides, and it's very hard to say right now. But in the more midterm, I can tell you there's definitely strength for TX and the altcoin market. Obviously, like I said before, Bitcoin's been crashing a lot, but altcoins have been moving up, which is not normal, right? So the first time in 5 years, altcoins are starting to gain a lot of strength. Now, if you turn to the right side over here, this right here is called the RSI, the Relative Strength Index. This is telling us how much strength there is on the demand side for the buyers. So as price is falling, the RSI is trending up. This is called bullish divergence. And with this type of 100-day pattern that we're seeing here, there's a lot of strength behind this. Okay, and we can also pair it with other oscillators, which we will in a sec. But as you look, this area, we'll call this the black zone. This area is a great buying opportunity. And then over here, we'll also call this the black zone, is a great selling opportunity. But you have this little middle line here. It's the 50 line. We'll call it the midline. And basically, when you break that with the RSI, the bulls have strength, and they have a lot of strength. And this is the thing we're waiting for. We had a little bit of a trigger, but it was a little bit of a fake out here. You can see, so I'm hovering over this area. You can see on the other side that this area was trying to attempt to break over that 50-day moving average, but it's not ready yet because TX is positioning itself for the entire market to move. So as Bitcoin finishes its little flush out and liquidity sweep, in my opinion, I think we're going to start seeing big momentum, right? Based on probabilities, I think it can happen. So we're looking at the price action here. We obviously have, like I said, crash, but the RSI is telling us another story. Let's look into another indicator here. It's an oscillator, and we're going to look into the stochastic RSI, which measures momentum. Well, for right now, since we spent the entire time building the momentum for the bulls, it looks like the bulls are temporarily exhausted. Okay, cool. So what does that mean at this point? This just tells us that we may have a cool-off period. So there's a chance that we could break this trend line, come back down to the 043 or 0043 right there, and we could just have a nice little double bottom before another big rally. Could help us navigate this into July. We don't know yet, okay? Plus, there's always little fake outs you can always see too. But overall, the idea is to see if there's enough demand. If you look here, this is the money flow index, and I've talked about this many times, but this is just telling us that there's been sell pressure, and this has been buy pressure. So there's two different things. You have strength on the RSI side, you have momentum on the stochastic RSI, and then you have buying or selling pressure on the money flow index. But if you pair them on all three, overall the trend is in favor for a bullish divergence. So you have three oscillators here for congruence. Now, if you look at the MACD has been trending up. And now we're actually about to hit an important area of resistance here, right at the midline, and we haven't been able to hit that yet. So as you can tell, since March, basically, well, April, because it takes some time to generate that, it's been taking a very long time because of how undervalued it's been, but that trend has been moving the opposite of what price action has been doing. And then the real momentum does start once we break this midline. Okay, so there's things we still have to wait for. That's fine, but TX price action is still looking pretty good relative to the entire market. So we have a few things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the 50-day moving average. We're going to look at all these oscillators for them to break, especially this midline. We need to come down, but we could come down actually to this purple line and just have a little drop here, boom, move up, which would also mean that we could have a little drop here and then move up right there, right? So I'm looking at just simply the chart action, price action for just what it is. That's how I'm interpreting the data. And another way I can look at this data is I have, if you guys are doing TA charting and all this stuff, is I have 3 TX charts that I look at. This one where it's TX, and this one TX, and then TX2. So basically this is Kraken, this is Gate.io, which are 2 exchanges, and then TX2 is basically the aggregate of all the indexes together, which I like to use because it's a little bit more cleaner, and it gives us a little bit cleaner idea on the charts as far as where all of the wicks are being averaged out. And why is that important? Because this little wick, I think, is going to be the one we're going to use because of the index aggregate chart, which is that TX2. And the reason why I think that's important is because on the exchanges, there's a discrepancy there. And I like that because I can use that as a potential top here for a Fibonacci and then measure from the swing high all the way to the swing low. And so my expectation for this is that, you know, we're probably going to have a little trend line here, which I'm going to try to draw right around there. And I'm going to let me just delete some of these here. Should have done that earlier. But yeah, let's start over here. And we're going to, let me just clear this one out. So we have, it looks like pretty good little trend line right around there. And you can see that because if I measure this accurately, you have rejection, 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 pretty much a rejection, 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 and we haven't been able to break that. And even if you look at the 1 week chart, I mean, that's right there pretty much just shows you like, hey, we need to break this, and there's just been sell pressure everywhere as far as the chart's telling us here. Okay, but if we go back and we have this trend line, what can we expect once we do break this trend line, right? And that's why I said back then, I was like, well, let's measure our Fibonacci here. It's just 2 points. And we're going to take this swing high here and we're going to go to our swing low. And the first area of interest to me is going to be this 702 area. And generally, this is going to be the area that's going to cause 2 things. We either rally, move up to here, we either get a little rejection and then create another base, right? Or we can just break through it. But something's going to happen to this line. And I'll tell you this, if we get rejected, sure, we'll take some time consolidating, correcting, maybe an ABC or something. Or if we do break that violently, it will be a violent breakout and it will take us into price discovery. And of course, you can even use that same Fibonacci to create targets, which to me is a golden target, or I can call it an accumulation golden target, which is 1.272 or the 618. I'll actually try to make that bigger for you guys to see. This is just how I use this tool here. So this is a couple areas that I like to look at. So if you ever hear me talk about Fibonacci, there's a couple areas that I have to explain. So the only 3 things that I really look at for the most part in this type of structure is the 702, because it's a reactionary point, could even be a resistance point or something, right? So you could draw price action to bounce here, create more of a support, more of a price action like an ABC, or we could break through and then we would come to our first target, which is around 15 cents. And then ultimately it's 42 cents. So these are areas of interest once we do get into price discovery. And so we'll just keep it at that. And that's just how I'm looking at it for now. And we'll just see how price action develops over the next handful of, well, days, because it's going to be close to the 6-month close. And then we'll look into July here soon. And hopefully the market's going to buy into the anticipation of the Clarity Act, which we believe is a hearing on July 17th. So anyways, I hope that helps. It's been about a good 15 minutes, data packed, and I hope you guys have a better understanding of the TA and what I'm seeing with TX. So anyways, if you guys like the content, please like and subscribe. And then of course, I am a validator for the BRW Capital for the TX community. So would love your guys' support, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys.